Hello and welcome to Odds on Premier League Match Day 31. Many of you were hoping to see Tom Rennie this week live, and here we are to analyze the games we have this weekend. We have Manchester Derby after the Merseyside Derby, and we have Tom Rennie, of course. Hello, Tom.
Here I am, live.
Nottingham Forest in the Champions League next season.
We're going to see it. We're going to see it. It's happening. They're going to do a Villa, like Villa this season, is Forest next season, which means next season a bit of a struggle until the back end of the campaign when everyone gets good again. We are separating the good from the bad right now in the Premier League, and Forest are definitely the good.
Do you know that your ACCA came through?
Do I know? It's obvious, isn't it? Of course it came through.
Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, all to win, 4.2. I'm just checking.
I am having a bit of a run at the moment, mate. I think I've won like 4 or 5 in a row, something like that. ACCAs at the moment, they're very tough to land, the ACCAs. So I'm feeling happy with myself right now.
4.2 is a high ACCA, actually. Well, let's try another one this weekend. Ask any questions to Tom Rennie. It's not easy to see him around live. And of course, subscribe. Let's go on with the show. The early kickoff is Everton-Arsenal, with Arsenal thinking about the Champions League, thinking about Real Madrid, but they're still winning in the Premier League 2-1 against Fulham with Mikel Merino still scoring. I guess it's also good news for the Gunners in Saka in the score sheet, whereas Everton lost the derby. It was a close game, as you predicted. No wins in the last 5, but it's true that 4 of them were draws.
Yeah, look, I mean, let's start briefly with Everton. They're over the line, right? They've done it. The job is done. They have 34, 35 points. They're well clear of Ipswich, despite their win a couple of days ago. They're going to stay in the Premier League next year. No one is going to make up a 14-point gap with 8 games to go down the bottom of the Premier League, right? So 0 chance of relegation. So David Moyes, tremendous job since coming in. His main job was to stop them conceding, nick victories, get their way to the appropriate amount of points, and he's done that through making them very, very hard to beat. 13 draws this season. There was 4 draws going into the game against Liverpool on Wednesday, and that was very, very close. If Beto scores that chance at 0-0, it's a different game. They had some late chances. Could they have had a penalty in the game? Maybe Liverpool could have had a penalty as well. So there's loads of moments that could have swung that one. So great competitive performance from Everton in midweek, but that's all you're going to get in this game as you got. They are going to keep the score down. If they can score a goal, it's going to be very difficult for Arsenal, but how they score a goal is the big question. There's still no Dwight McNeil, who's been missing for so long now. He's such an important creative player. And Zai came back into the squad against Liverpool, but understandably isn't going to be fully fit to be that creative force. And it's led Everton to seem quite blunt, and they're already quite blunt anyway. And Jack Harrison, look, he's a good player in a lot of ways, but you saw it on the breakaway in the first half for Everton. He doesn't make the right pass. He doesn't make the right decisions. I'm not sure he's a Premier League quality player, and that lets Everton down with regularity. And you've also got to throw in on this game before we get to Arsenal. It is Goodison's last season. We're into April now. I think it's 5 games left at that incredible old stadium, and there is going to be a big final win. Could it be this against Arsenal? That is a possibility. There's still a good feel-good factor about Everton. In terms of Arsenal, a lot of concerns going to this game in terms of Gabriel, who came off injured in the game in midweek. Ben White's got some discomfort, so he probably won't be rested in this game. Doubts about Yuri and Timber. We already know Havertz and Calafiori and Jesus are missing. So lots of concerns there that weren't there a couple of weeks ago. The good news, of course, being Bukayo Saka's return and goal-scoring return against Fulham as well. So, look, I think Arsenal still remain the massive favourites for this game. I think they won't risk Gabriel, so it'll be Saliba and another. But we'll see how they put into that role in terms of central defence. And I think that anyone who's got a slight knock going into Real Madrid on Tuesday won't be risked in this game. So again, that opens up a little avenue for Everton if Arsenal have their eye on that game on Tuesday. But you look at Arsenal this season, defence has been fantastic, just 25 goals conceded. It's the best record in the division. They have drawn 10 games this season to Everton's 13, so don't discount the draw here. But I think Arsenal win, as they did in midweek, as they do with regularity, a low-scoring, uninspiring game of football. Arsenal win 1.73. Arsenal win 1-0 is 6. Put a group together of 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. 3-0 is a bit strong, 2.88. But Arsenal win without conceding 2.63. Probably be the top tip here. They're going to win this, and it's not going to be pretty, but they will win.
Arsenal to win and under 3.5 goals. 𝐬𝐵𝐺𝐸 is following your same thinking. Let's go to the next one. Crystal Palace Brighton. This, I believe, is meant to be a derby, even if they are not in the same city. And it was a big surprise. Palace couldn't beat Southampton. Even they scored in the very last minute after qualifying for the FA Cup semi-finals. They are going to play Aston Villa. Remember, and also Brighton lost to Aston Villa after the knockout in the FA Cup. Still, Brighton have much more on stake because they are only 3 points away from European spots.
They do, but I do think Crystal Palace will be smarting following their performance against Southampton on Wednesday. Saints were great first half, deserved to be leading, and it took that late França goal to get Palace something from it. The attack misfired. I think you get that sometimes with Eza and Sarr. Sometimes look outstanding, like did against Fulham at the weekend. Sometimes look a bit ineffective. I do wonder if 𝐵𝗵𝐿𝐵𝐸 Mateta is being affected by wearing that weird sort of head mask to cover up his ear. Happened to Raul Jimenez. I know he had a much more serious injury, but it is something that may be, on the mind of the player. We've seen it with, 𝐸𝐸 with his mask over the years, right? It takes a bit of time to adjust, and some get on and some need time. So a little drop off from 𝐵𝗵𝐿𝐵𝐸 Mateta. The midfield struggled first half against Southampton. Though as the game wore on, Palace, they do have some class. They got stronger and stronger and stronger. And in the end, maybe could have won with that late 𝐬𝐭𝐴 chance at Southampton. So beyond that, tremendous run of form, not conceding many goals, just 2 goals conceded across their last 5 in all competition. That includes the one from Southampton and Millwall in the Cup. So I think they do go into this game as favourites. In terms of Brighton, I do think it's quite interesting. Firstly, all season long, monumental injury list that now has Webster in it, Rutter in it, joining the likes of Milner and Steele and Veltman and 𝐿𝐴MPTE, who've been missing for short and long periods across recent weeks. And I just wonder in terms of the European challenge, I think the top 7's kind of set now. I think Villa up is sort of the order they're going to be in. There might be a little bit of toing and froing. Villa could get 5th, Newcastle could finish 7th, etc. But I think 8th is as high as Brighton are going to go come the end of this season. And I think maybe you've sort of seen that in the last couple of games. The Forest loss was obviously devastating. I was quite telling as well that when Villa went 2 up in midweek before Marlon scored the 3rd, the Amex was kind of emptying. It does sort of feel like they've run out of juice, Brighton, towards the end of this season. And with a very small squad, lots of injuries, the FA Cup disappointment, maybe that's not a surprise. So, look, I think this game will just shade for one of these 2 teams. I think it'll be quite narrow. I'm kind of drawn by the odds here. I think I'll take Brighton in terms of the 2, only because Crystal Palace do have something to play for and Brighton don't. And I think you saw a bit of that with Palace in the first half against Southampton. Brighton win 2.63, I like. But if you like Palace, 2.55 is also quite nice. It's going to be a very, very even game, this. Don't discount the draw at 3.63. I think both teams will score in this matchup. So take your winner. Look at both teams to score. Brighton and BTTS was 5. I don't think any particular individual stands out in recent form, but I do think both teams score and someone shades it with a late winner is more than likely the outcome here. Plus, you've got to include that derby element. I know it's weird. It's a derby. Don't ask me to explain it. Just Google it, okay? It's Alan Mullery. It's Terry Venables. It's Seagulls and Eagles. It's a whole thing.
Okay. Well, 1-1 for 𝐬𝐵𝐸.
Yeah.
Ipswich Wolves is the next game. It was a big surprise seeing Ipswich beating Bournemouth away with Dela. Probably the best news this season for Ipswich, scoring another goal. There is still 9 points gap between these 2 teams because Wolves were able to beat West Ham with Larsen scoring again. The last 3 goals were scored by Strand Larsen. Still beautiful odds to back Wolves somehow if we keep following our rule of backing the Ipswich rival.
Yeah, like in general, I'm still going to follow that rule for the next 8 weeks. And it was a massive shock. Like you couldn't have bet on Ipswich to win at Bournemouth. And we'll get to the Bournemouth of that later because they're a bit like Brighton and maybe Palace in the league. They look like they might be focused elsewhere or thinking about their summer holidays. But like great performance from Ipswich, you've got to say, against Bournemouth in midweek with a couple of players missing as well. The goals they scored were fantastic. The dedication to get the victory was fantastic. The performance from 𝐿𝐴𝐵, once upon a time, one of the most promising kind of players in the Premier League when he was at Brighton last year, the year before. Haven't seen much of him this season, but I thought he was fantastic. And the vitality was really crucial to the Ipswich win. So, look, there's a possibility they might stay in the Premier League, Ipswich. I think it's pretty remote, but they have to win this game. And, of course, the issue all season has been they can't win home games. It's just one victory at Portman Road in 15 matches this season. That was the shock win against Chelsea. 10 defeats in 15 at home is absolutely pitiful. And on that record, you simply couldn't back them to win here. In terms of Wolves, didn't think they played well against West Ham in midweek. But I thought it was quite telling. Two very poor teams at Molineux. If Evan Ferguson scores that open goal in the opening few minutes, it's a different game. The shot from Strand Larsen deflects in from that point. You know, West Ham was so appalling going forward, which we'll get to later. They weren't really tested defensively, Wolverhampton Wanderers. And you could almost feel watching the game, Molineux knew it was a massive game. Pereira knew it was a massive game to get over the line against West Ham. They opened up a 12-point gap. That's now a 9-point gap. Could be a 6-point gap if they lose this game this weekend. So I think they'll be right up for this. Strand Larsen, you mentioned, great goal-scoring form. Matheus 𝐻𝐿𝐴 comes back from his 3-game suspension. He is an elite-level player amongst a lot of schlock that will be out there, so could be a difference maker. And I think offensively, they've got players who can impact the game, Wolves, which we saw against West Ham in midweek. So, look, I think you've got to follow Ipswich's terrible record. Wolves have won 3 of the last 5, a draw in that run as well, so 1 defeat in 5. Take the Wolves win at 2.62. Odds are really, really good for that. Wolves and both teams to score. I mentioned that because of the goals conceded record, 58 for Wolves and 63 for Ipswich. So it's all about inability to keep clean sheets for these two as opposed to scoring. And don't discount the draw, but I think Wolves win, both teams score, 12-point gap, Ipswich relegated this weekend. That's what I think.
Draw no bet is also a very good bet. Messi is going for this. Wolves draw no bet, I guess, should be around 2 if you want to take less risks. Let's go to the next one. Is West Ham Bournemouth. Nothing to play for, really. Here, Bournemouth doomed, I would say, after the FA Cup knockout, losing to Ipswich. Is 3 consecutives, 1-2 actually for them, and it's only 1 point in the last 5 games. West Ham also having a big problem with the goal. Tom, it's only 1 goal in the last 3 games.
West Ham are so appalling. In another season with a better bottom 3, I think they'd be in serious trouble. They'd be in serious trouble. So Graham Potter came in, replacing 𝐿𝐴𝐵, made such a mess of things, and his first job was to stop them conceding so many goals, which he has done. The average on 𝐿𝐴𝐵 was over 2 goals per game they were conceding. He's got that under 2, which is great, and was job number 1. But offensively, they're so bad. Like, how do they score a goal? When they went down against Brentford, didn't have a shot. After, I think, the 30th minute, when they went down against Newcastle, didn't muster a shot in the second half. They're losing against Wolves in midweek, and I think Fulkrug hit the bar, and Souček had a late chance, but beyond that, could not create a chance. The starting lineup against Wolves was, if you were a West Ham fan, jaw-dropping. Like 𝐿𝐴𝐵, where's he come from? No one's seen him all year. Suddenly he's starting. Evan Ferguson, no. That's been that off now. I don't know what's happened to Evan Ferguson, but it's Brighton's problem. Let him go. Just stop playing him because he looked completely shot. So let's stop doing that. And also, like, he's playing this 5 at the back formation, which is totally denting the creative possibility of West Ham. But a 2-man midfield of James Ward-Prowse and Lucas Paquetá is moronic from Graham Potter. Like, the amount of times Paquetá has been tried in a 2-man midfield, it does not work. He does not work. Paquetá has no impact on football matches from that position. So don't do that again. Frankly, I don't know what West Ham are going to do. They are such a mess. And I would say Graham Potter has brought very, very little to West Ham during his 11-12 games in charge. People tell me to wait till next season. We shall wait till next season, but I certainly wouldn't want to sit through one of their games. In terms of Bournemouth, I think they look absolutely gassed against Ipswich Town. A little bit like the Brighton narrative I mentioned earlier on, gutted by the Man City loss, absolutely gutted. They've had some fantastic performances this season, but they've fallen off a cliff recently. It's 1 point in their last 5 games, an FA Cup loss in there as well. Evan Nilsson's come back in and scored against Ipswich, so that's given them something. But a lot of players, big form drop-off, defensively conceding soft goals. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 is making mistakes where he hadn't made a mistake for months and months and months. So an intriguing one, this. I just could not possibly predict a West Ham United win, because how on earth are they going to score a goal? Like 3.2 for a home victory. I think it's 8 home defeats this season for West Ham. They are truly pathetic. And so take the Bournemouth win if you're picking a winner here. Odds not too bad, considering just how bad West Ham are at home at 2.35. Cannot see West Ham scoring a goal. So if Bournemouth score, they'll win this game. Bournemouth win to 0 is quite nice here. Very low scoring game. I can't see goals in it. Go under 2.5 goals, then pick your winner. I've taken Bournemouth. That comes in at 5.5. I don't discount the draw. If it happens, it'll be 0-0 or it'll be 1-1 if West Ham manage to fudge a goal in some way. So draw 3.65 I like as well. But an unwatchable game of football at London Stadium this weekend.
A draw could be a good option. It's a skip for me. 𝐻𝐿𝐴 is telling us 2 tough teams to get excited about right now, Stephen. Completely agree with you. Much more exciting is the next game. Aston Villa Forest for the Champions League spots. Aston Villa, great run with the transfers in winter, with Asensio and Rashford scoring in the win against Brighton, only 2 points away from the Champions League spots. Is 6 consecutive wins in all competitions. Remember that they have PSG next, and the schedule is so difficult for Emery's men, since, again, another tough test this weekend against Forest. For them is 5 consecutive wins in all competitions, counting also the penalties shootout. And they have great odds to back them somehow, because they are really the underdog for this game.
I think this is the game of the weekend. I think this is a fantastic game of football between 2 very, very good teams. Aston Villa are paying the price right now in terms of league position of the Champions League run. The amount of times this season following the Champions League they've struggled to pick up points. That's why they are not 4th or 3rd or even challenging for the Premier League title this season, because they have dropped points in those games. It's opened the door for the likes of Forest and City and Chelsea to walk through. But Villa, you know, it's the part of the season where you can't have excuses anymore. If they want to be in the Champions League again next season, it's games like this they have to win. And they can't have the excuse of, oh, well, it's PSG in midweek. It doesn't matter. You've got to go into these games and give everything you have. There can't be great rotation. This is not West Ham at home. This is a huge, huge matchup. And if they fail to win it, they may well start to struggle to keep pace with Newcastle, keep pace with Man City, even keep pace with Chelsea. And then they're in the Europa League, then maybe Conference League, and then it's all downhill from there. Look, not all the way downhill, but, you know, compared to being in the Champions League. But, I mean, you mentioned it. How good has Marco Asensio been? Just way better than even the most positive of expectations. A tremendous player, but you never know how someone's going to fit in a team, in a league, all of that, and just take it to it beautifully. Wonderful to watch. Great to see some positivity in the performance of Marcus Rashford. Certainly not the complete package. He gives the ball away still and that sort of stuff, but playing with confidence is a tremendous threat. Ollie Watkins has had a bit of rotation recently, certainly in the FA Cup. Fantastic. Midfield looks good. Pau Torres back defensively. It's all come together for Villa going in this game. And the confidence in the last 10 minutes or so against Brighton on Wednesday, that's when the team is really, really purring. They are coming to form at the right moment, as Emery has done throughout his career. Bring that team to the fore when it is needed the most. That is April to the end of May. And you saw that against Brighton. Every chance again you see it here. But of course, we could say that about Nottingham Forest as well. Won exactly as we predicted against Man United on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever that was, Tuesday. Exactly as they beat Man City a few weeks ago. If they score the opening goal, you are in serious, serious trouble. Scoring against Nottingham Forest is very, very difficult. Scoring against them when they have the lead is exceedingly difficult. And we keep highlighting these players. Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, Elanga, all of them have been phenomenal. That Elanga goal is right up there with the best goals you've seen in this division all season. Drive, tenacity, composure, skill, strength, all of it. It was gorgeous. It was such a great goal. And to score it against United as Elanga, chef's kiss perfection. All of it was great. And then the way they defended against United, who, look, aren't an amazing attack, but there was a real, not a chance that you're going to score about Nottingham Forest. Sells making great saves, everyone making great blocks, Ryan Yates getting his body in the way, all of it. Fantastic. So, tough game to call this. Don't just count the draw at 3.8, but for me, I would just shade for a Villa victory. In the league, it's 3 wins in the last 5 for Villa. The home form has turned around second half of the season. I do think Villa at home is a huge task for anybody. And I've just been looking at a couple of the away performances for Nottingham Forest recently. Great at home, but I'm thinking a bit about, when they went to Bournemouth and struggled. A couple of games where even against Ipswich at points, they struggled in that second half. I do think there is just a little bit of softness every now and then about Nottingham Forest. And they are so far clear at the moment of those below them. I wonder if that pressure of being, if not favourites, favoured could be a problem for them. Big fan of the way Villa score goals. Big fan of that attack. And I think in terms of form players, they have 2 of the form players in the Premier League right now in Rashford and Asensio. They're the home team. Take them to win. Take Asensio to score any time at 3.25. I'd see this as quite a low-scoring game. So I think first goal wins. Don't discount Forest. But for me, Villa under 2.5.
I still like Forest. They keep delivering. Stephen, Nottingham Forest to win 2-1. Great odds for Forest draw no bet. For instance, 𝐿𝐿_Messi is telling us, how many chances do you give to Aston Villa against PSG, Tom?
I think got a great chance. I think got a really, really good chance. I think that they are maybe one of the best attacks in European football right now. I think defensively, with the goalkeeper Martinez, the quality he's got, Pau Torres being back, the midfield being great. I think there's every chance Aston Villa could beat Paris Saint-Germain and go on to make the final of the Champions League. They're very, very, very good with one of the best European Cup managers in history. Sure, not in the Champions League, but sure. I think there's every chance that they can navigate their way against Paris Saint-Germain. It's going to be a fantastic tie. I mean, I'm not going to tell you Villa are going to get through, but I think they have every chance of doing it. And what a compliment that is to what he's done there at Villa.
Indeed. Well, if you think like Tom, we have great odds to back Aston Villa to go through to the semi-finals. Next game is Brentford-Chelsea, West London Derby. And here is very difficult, Tom, because we have Brentford, 2 points in the last 7 home games. Chelsea, no win since the 9th of December against Tottenham, playing away with 4 consecutive defeats away from Stamford Bridge. What to do?
Yeah, horrible this one. Horrible to predict. I think that, look, I do think that, we do this a lot on Brentford. They're better in the bottom half. They're not as good as the top half. But I do think Chelsea's recent form has been a concern. I know there's been a bit of a turn against Enzo Maresca. I think the injury to Nicholas Jackson, the drop-off in form in Cole Palmer has been really significant. But look, I mean, Brentford are going to finish 11th. They've been the 11th best team in the country the entire way through. I think Bryan Mbeumo scoring again. His tremendous penalty record continues against Newcastle. I think that on the break or when the chance comes, there's every chance 𝐿𝐿_Messi will take it. I think in terms of industry, their midfield is right up there with the best in the league, maybe in European football. Christian Norgard, fantastic player. Mikkel Damsgaard's had some great creative moments this season. I think their land of the Giants defense in some games looks fantastic. With the lead, looks fantastic. But when the game is stretched, I think people like Pinnock and 𝐿𝐿 and Collins can be turned, and that can lead to some trouble. And I know that the Flecken in goal has made a lot of saves this season. I think I saw a stat a couple of days ago. He's made more saves than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. I'd need to double check that, but certainly makes a lot of saves, Mark Flecken. So they are a team you can get at. In terms of Chelsea, we're doing this, of course, before the Tottenham game on the Thursday, but I mentioned a couple of their problems. I think defensively as well. Look, the goalkeeper's an issue, obviously. I think they'll try and address that in the summer by signing probably 70 goalkeepers, and eventually one of them will work out. But I think defensively, there's a lot of talk about, Wesley Fofana is back now. I'm not sure how good Wesley Fofana is, And I'm also not convinced he'll be able to stay fit. And that leaves you with a whole bunch of other players. You're a bit like, not sure about that. Midfield doesn't work without Romeo Lavia, who continues to be injured. I mean, there was that few weeks where Caicedo went to fullback and Lavia was in midfield with Enzo Fernandez. And we were like, oh, okay. Suddenly Enzo makes sense. Suddenly Caicedo makes sense. It all sort of makes sense. But Romeo Lavia does not have the body to play top-level Premier League football. Real shame. Massive shame. I hope that's proven wrong, but all the evidence so far suggests it. And without him, not sure the midfield balance works. Enzo Fernandez is not suited to this country. How many times have I got to say? It's a great player. Not for the Premier League, not for Chelsea, not right now. Might be able to do a job in rotation with like 𝗵𝗵 𝗀𝗃𝗀 at Liverpool if he was to be in England. But beyond that, I think shouldn't be in the Premier League. And I think that leads to problems. The midfield gets overrun. And again, look, Palmer's fit, but he's been carrying this team on his back for 2 managers and 2 seasons. And you can only do that for so long. Someone else has to come to the fore. Who that is, I don't know. And 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿's been a massive flop at Chelsea. And I think they're going to do well to make some money back out of him. Look, this game's going to be tight. I would just shade for Brentford here. I'd be looking back at the Villa game from a couple of weeks ago. I think every chance Chelsea may well score in this game. But if it's a tit for tat, we can outscore you, I would just shade for Brentford. They do still have an overall tremendous home record this season. The tougher games, they have struggled, but against teams out of form who do play sort of poorly, they do often win. And Chelsea's away form has not been amazing this season. I think it's 6 defeats in 15. So it's like losing half or so, just under half of their away games. So go for Brentford, 3.26. And then look at goal scorers here. And Bournemouth 3.25, always worth a punt. But I'd be looking at under 3.5 and go for Brentford.
All right. Chelsea draw no bet. Correct score 1-1. I love watching Brentford playing. Okay. And
enjoy yourself. You do you.
Watching Brentford. There are people, you know, that like tofu. What can I say?
I like tofu.
Cauliflower.
Yes. We're weird. Me and Stephen like tofu, and we like watching Brentford. We've got problems.
Exactly. Mapo tofu, the stinky tofu, for instance. Next game on Sunday as well, Fulham, Liverpool, with Fulham losing to Arsenal. Still some options to go to Europe, but just be honest, their season is over after the knockout in the FA Cup, and Liverpool keep winning, not shining, Tom, but they bounce back from the defeat in the Carabao Cup final, and in the Premier League only is 4 consecutive wins with only 1 goal conceded.
Yeah, I think if anyone watched the Arsenal game in midweek, you're about to see the exact same game here at Craven Cottage between Fulham and Liverpool. I think that defensively, Anderson, 𝗛𝗏𝗄, 1 or 2 others have performed well for Fulham this season. I think that Anthony Robinson, in what's likely to be an audition for him to get a move to Liverpool, is a very good player. So we'll see how he gets on in this match. I think offensively, it was Muniz scored against Arsenal, while Jimenez missed a couple of chances, and he'd been away with Mexico, so wasn't maybe quite as fit as they would have liked. You know, they've got some really good players, Fulham, and I think 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿's been one of the best players in the Premier League this season, but they have absolutely no consistency. And if you look at their recent form, loss, win, loss, win, loss in the league, it backs up that point entirely. You never quite know exactly what you're going to get. There's every chance they're exceptional here and go on to beat Liverpool. I can see it. But there's every chance here they concede an early goal and the game peters out into nothingness, a bit like against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. So you never quite know. I do think a lot of players have over-excelled this season for Fulham. And I think there's every chance, as often happens with the Cottagers, at this stage of the season, they start to fall away. And at home, very, very inconsistent as well. 6 victories, 5 draws and 4 defeats. Not bad to only have 4 defeats at this point of the season, but just haven't converted games where they've played well. And Liverpool, you know what's funny? I was watching the Everton game, as all of us were, I'm sure, on Wednesday. I've seen Liverpool multiple times this season. If there was a challenge from someone at the top of the table, I think they've got a crumble in them. I think if Man City were on the charge, or Arsenal were on the charge, or Forest were closer, there's a wobble there. I think Van Dijk is looking old and slow and injured, and I'd be considering replacing him during the summer. Mo Salah has gone off the boil. I think in midfield, there's 𝗵𝗵 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀, Ryan Gravenberch. Their levels have dropped off a lot. The lack of Alexander-Arnold's taken away a bit of creativity on that right-hand side. You know, there's a lot of cracks now showing in Liverpool. You know, Kelleher starting again in place of Alisson in midweek. But there's no pressure on them because they're so far clear, and that's sort of getting them over the line. And I kind of feel like that's going to happen again here, like their most recent run. It's win after win after win, but were they convincing against Everton? Were they convincing against Southampton? Were they convincing against Newcastle? Weren't great against Villa? Still getting the points. They're going to be good champions and all of that, but there is just something that I'd love to have seen someone on the charge behind them. But the point differential is too massive. And of course, just one defeat all season shows you how good they are. So look, Liverpool win. Take that at 1.86. I think it'll be a reasonably unwatchable match. Liverpool under 2.5 goals is 4.5, which is quite high for the way results have gone recently for Liverpool. I don't see Fulham scoring. I think it'll be one and done. Look at the group bet market as well. 1-0, 2-0. You can take 1-0, 2-3. I think that's the group you'll be offered. But 1-0, 2-0, I think will cover it here under 2.5.
Liverpool to win and over 2.5 goals for 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲. 𝐬𝐭𝐵, Liverpool to win and under 4.5. This is not a very risky indeed, but still Liverpool to win 1.8. If you trust the Reds, the odds are good. Next game is Tottenham Southampton. Well, what to say about Southampton? At least they got a draw in the last game. It could have been a win, but still they are stopped there at 2 wins this season. And Tottenham, I guess the goal is in the Europa League. Of course, they've forgotten about the Premier League long time ago. So probably it's not good to place bets in this game, Tom.
Well, I mean, the only thing you do is bet on Southampton to lose, right? They've lost 24 games this season. And I did feel for them against Crystal Palace in midweek because those fans at St Mary's have had nothing all season to enjoy. And they're winning in the 90th minute. And just give me something, right? They're still a point shy of the Premier League's worst ever points tally, Derby County. So they want to make sure they're not the worst team in Premier League history. I do think they'll nudge just above that, but not by much. You're looking at, I think, Sunderland's 15 points from 2008 or something like that, that they'll probably get to. So they might get 5 or 6 more points. And look, they don't deserve to be as bad as that Derby County team, but they have been bad. Very, very, very bad. So I did feel bad for them. In terms of Tottenham, like 15 defeats this season, when you look at it, just the data on the table, they've lost half their games in the Premier League this season, right? Shocking. I think West Ham, I think Tottenham, and I think Man United have been the worst 3 teams in the Premier League this season in terms of expectation to reality. Tottenham have had lots of injuries. It's clearing up a bit now, but you said it there. It is all about the Europa League. Does it matter if Tottenham finish 12th or 16th? No, not really. Will it matter to Postecoglou staying on or not? No, not really. What matters is winning the Europa League. So if there are any doubts about injuries, then you obviously can't play them. There's some doubts about Kulusevski and 1 or 2 others, but Richarlison wouldn't risk them. And I wonder whether as well he risks Van der Ven and Romero. These 2 guys have got to play in the Europa League. I might dump them out of both league games to make sure they are fit for those 2 matchups. But look, you can only really go on the Southampton record here. Tottenham have won a decent amount of home games. When they win, they tend to score goals. I think they'll win here quite comfortably. Tottenham win at 1.42 reflects that. Then you've got to look at the handicap market. If you're going to make some money, you've got to take it on a big Tottenham victory. Minus 1.5 is 2. Minus 2.5 is 3.75. Quite like that 3-0 victory sort of score line. I just think that Southampton concede so many goals. They've lost 12 away games this season, 71 conceded in total. All you can do is bet on a big Tottenham win if you're taking this one, and hopefully they'll deliver.
Well, correct score 2-1. Tottenham to win and over 2.5 goals or corner handicap for Tottenham. I was just checking that Luton Town are about to go to League One. Actually, They are in relegation spots from the Premier League directly to League One. And then on Sunday, we have Manchester Derby, a very interesting game on Sunday, not probably for the standings, although it's important for Man City without Erling Haaland. Let's see how this affects the team. Another setback for Guardiola, although Marmoush, since his arrival, he's scoring and scoring. Still in Champions League spots for Man City. Remember that in the reverse fixture, they lost in the last 5 minutes or 2 minutes against Man United, coming back from behind. United also focus in the Europa League. They have Lyon. Is 13 defeats this season in the Premier League. It's just shameful.
Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of problems, Man United. I mean, firstly, the injury list continues to be massive, and we should reference that. You know, Ahmad was outstanding for Amorim. He looked like the only real Amorim player and got injured. The young boy Heaven came in to play at centre-half. He got injured. 𝐻𝐵 has missed the majority of the season. No Martinez, no Shaw. You know, so that has affected Manchester United. You know, they are building for next season, and there are lots of square pegs in round holes. There are some that are getting it, there are some that aren't. It's a huge summer coming up and all of that. I think the strikers have all found their audition. Rasmus Højlund, 𝘊𝐻𝐻𝐵. I think they'd look to move both of those players on if they possibly could, and they can get a replacement in as well. I don't know. What do you say at this point? I mean, I just feel like they're just trying to manage their way to the end of this campaign. That it has been shocking, 13 defeats across the campaign. They've only won 6 games at Old Trafford all season. They've been beaten at Old Trafford 7 times this season, including a couple of sort of shocking, didn't see that coming. It's not just like they've been beaten by Arsenal and Man City. They've been beaten by strugglers and mid-table irrelevancies this season at home. So was there much against Forest? I think it's very tough to break down Forest in midweek. If Bruno Fernandes doesn't do something, their only really properly top-class player, then the rest of them haven't really got it. And I think you're sort of seeing that with Manchester United. Defensively, conceding poor goals. Offensively, not creating a great match. But I do think that in big games, there is a possibility they could put on a big performance. A decent mid-table team can beat an upper mid-table team if it's a derby, it's their day, whatever. So don't discount that. But look, in terms of Man City, it happened exactly as we expected against Leicester. When they got the second, I thought there'd be a third. But when they got it, they shut the game down. They're just managing their way, going through the motions now, Manchester City, and hopefully for them re-qualifying for the Champions League next season. Great to see Jack Grealish do something this campaign. He struggled to have any impact, form, fitness, so that was good. Playing without Haaland's always going to be a concern, but they do still have a plethora of terrific attacking talent. Bernardo Silva, great to see Oscar Bob come back in, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. Like, none of them have had amazing seasons, but they're still very talented. And you sort of saw that against Leicester. Second half, they were just sort of toying with them and could have got a third, maybe, but sort of didn't really push for it. If Haaland was here, I'd go definite City win. I don't discount the draw at 3.8, but I'll take the City at 2.15 because you don't often get Man City at those sort of odds to beat anybody. The derby element interests me because I do think that often there is an element of chaos in a derby, as we've seen in recent times. So I do think every chance of a Manchester United goal. You look at the goals that City have been conceding of late, 2 against Brighton, 1 against Forest, 2 against Liverpool. They are letting goals in. And it's like 40 goals conceded this season for Man City, which is real high considering comparatively Liverpool 27 and Arsenal 25. It's a heck of a lot. It's more than Forest by 5 as well. That's been an underreported problem for City this season. I know they've lost Rodri, but defensively, the goalkeeper, the centre halves, they have struggled. So every chance United can pick one, but if it becomes a slobber knocker, I'd quite fancy Manchester City. Both teams to score 3.5. Group bets 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 for City is 5. And I did like this. Grealish to score assist 3.75. I just think there's every chance they're going to build the attack around him this weekend. And he's playing for his supper. He's playing for his future at Manchester City. And I think you saw that a bit against Leicester in midweek. And I think you'll see it here as well.
Well, I don't think he's worried about the tonight's supper, at least. He might
Metaphorical supper. Metaphorical supper.
He might have some sneakers or something like this in the fridge. Correct score 1-1, easy over 2.5 goals. Penchef is gonna skip the Manchester derby. Perhaps you are more interested in Leicester City, Newcastle, the last game we have in this match day 31. Newcastle to win, of course, you only have to look at this market is 1.5. If you want to spice it up, Tom, you can bet on Newcastle to win 2-0 because Leicester City are unable to score a goal. It's 7 consecutive defeats in the Premier League, only 1 goal scored. And Newcastle at this moment, they are in Champions League spots. They are 5th only 1 point behind the Man City, but also with 1 game in hand.
I honestly don't know what to say about Leicester. I mean, the goalkeeper, Madsen, makes a mistake in midweek. 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗲'𝘀 is basically a defender who plays for the opposition. He's so bad. Offensively, Jamie Vardy was taken off at halftime against Man City. Made no sense. Maybe he's injured. I don't have him as a doubt in my notes, so maybe that was a tactical decision. Midfield is slow. Defense is weak. The attack can't score. Doesn't get worse than that, really. 4 victories all season, 21 defeats. I think 1 win in the last 10, 5 defeats in a row. The worst thing about Leicester is that when they lost against Man City in midweek, 𝗀𝗏𝗏 Nistelrooy, their manager, who thinks he's too good for this, is shaking hands with Bernardo Silva. He's shaking hands with a few City players while his players are off clapping their own supporters. I think 𝗀𝗏𝗏 Nistelrooy is the worst managerial appointment I've seen in the Premier League in 20 years. Just an atrocious appointment. No experience, no link to the club, no backroom team, no business being there, and he'll walk away from Leicester and no one's going to remember he was there beyond the Leicester fans who'll be like, oh, yeah. Do you remember when we weirdly had 𝗀𝗏𝗏 Nistelrooy as manager for 10 months? And he's just going through the motions, getting to the end, and you've seen that in game after game after game. Can't defend, can't attack, can't score. They'll lose this match. And Newcastle, brilliant victory in the Carabao Cup, of course. We wondered what sort of hangover there would be. And there was one a bit, I think, against Brentford. They did struggle, certainly in that first half, and then maybe could have been a late penalty for Brentford, which wasn't given, which I was quite annoyed about. I thought there was a foul from Bruno Guimaraes in the build-up to that late kind of penalty box melee. But when you have 𝐿EXANDER-ISAK, you have every chance of winning a game of football. Another goal for him against Brentford. And I think Newcastle now, they will have shaken off the hangover of the Carabao Cup with that victory. And I expect them to get another one here. It's a lovely run of fixtures they've had. West Ham, Brentford at home, and then away to Leicester. So take the Newcastle win at 1.55. Then look at the 𝐿EXANDER-ISAK market. First goal is 4, anytime 1.8. Add that to a Newcastle victory. It comes in at 2.18. I think Newcastle win here extremely comfortably. 2, 3. I would even look at the handicap market here. I expect Newcastle to win this at least 2-0, maybe 3-0. I might even look at the minus 3.5 market. I think Newcastle are going to give Leicester a hammering in this game. And it's exactly what 𝗀𝗏𝗏 Nistelrooy, if not the Leicester fans, deserve.
All right. Well, Newcastle to win 2-0. Player Cam is saying correct score 2-0 for Newcastle, or all are smart bets. Also, Newcastle Asian handicap minus 1.5. Well, guys, remember, of course, that you have the tipster competitions at your disposal. And we have a Premier League one. Check it out. Victor is leading from, I cannot see the flag of the country, actually. But there you go.
From parts unknown.
Okay. From the tofu lover country. Well, there you go. You can participate in our tipster competitions and win some money, or you can participate also in Rivals and create your own tipster competition with your friends. Well, Tom Rennie's ACCA this week was correct. Also the safe bet. Let's try another one. Safe bet.
Newcastle to win at Leicester City. Leicester are absolutely atrocious. Newcastle will win in all sorts of ways here. I think big, but just take them to win. Safe.
And your ACCA?
Newcastle in the ACCA to win against Leicester. One of the safest bets I think you'll make all season. I'll throw Liverpool in there to win at Fulham. And somewhat riskily, I'll put Tottenham in there as well. But Southampton at home has got to be winnable. 4.09. 3 big favourites to win. Not bad, that.
Not bad, indeed. Well, guys, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye-bye.